Today we have the patch notes for the new season coming tomorrow. You can see here that we have obviously the new season with its information that was put out last Friday. I made a video about that. Go watch that if you missed it. But some of the new stuff include this new map, Safe Haven. Again, this plays in all battle tiers for World War II, 5 and up, and all eras of Cold War. It is a 1000 by 1000 size map, and it is a urban map. We are getting a new sort option for our stats page with the damage standing. So now you can see what marks are closest to 3 marking and go after those with a linear line of your damage standing going up or down. That's very nice to see. As well as this updated ammunition panel. This adds the round's caliber, ricochet angle, and normalization value to the ammunition panel. This example they show here is the Senlac, one of the rare tanks where it has an ammunition in its 40mm grenade HE rounds that are different or is different to its gun caliber, which is why the caliber has been put on the ammunition as well. This is very nice information to have on the ammunition panel for new players, and if you're not aware of what the normalization value is in itself, allow me to explain it. The ricochet angle says 70 degrees. Say a vehicle is at 60 degrees, and you're shooting AP at it. You shoot at the plate that's at 60 degrees, the normalization value will subtract 5 degrees from that angle and make it like you're shooting at an angle that's 5 degrees less than it actually is. For APCR, this normalization value is only 2. Moving on, they're actually adding marks of excellence to Rotary Autocannons, and they are these stripes like the German 3 marks. And additional improvements include an added pop-up panel to inform new users of what they need to do to unlock the selected menu. Genuinely have no clue what that means. Added an information panel to communicate the bonus earnings for a commander within the store bundle. Added a discount tag support for the Garage Gear store so players can see when gear is on discount and for how much. Added a new blank emblem. This allows players to purchase a blank emblem if they do not wish for their tank to have any default emblem displayed, much like Cold War, where instead of having, the stars in the circle for American tanks, they just had nothing. And so now they're giving you that option to do that in World War II as well. Logs now store up to 20 of your last gold transactions within the past 14 days, and these logs will persist through multiple logins so players can see their recent gold history. That's pretty nice. And then we get into the meat of this update, and that is the Cold War tank balance update for the Western Alliance, which includes Germany, USA, and France. There are some nerfs in here. I did skim through and see if there were any nerfs at all, and I immediately saw 2 of them. If any Cold War players have any problems with these vehicles in particular, let it be known that things like the Bagel Panzer are being nerfed. So let's go over that. First up, you have the Canonian Jagdpanzer 4.5, which is getting buffs to its aim time, accuracy, and aftershot dispersion penalty, as well as 2,000 hit points and better rotation speeds. The Leopard prototype is getting similar treatment with its accuracy, aim time, and aftershot dispersion penalties, as well as its rotation speeds to its turret. And the Bagel Panzer, moving on to Era 2 for Germany, the Bagel Panzer is the first nerf on this list. All of its guns are getting worse aim time, and its ATGMs is actually getting an aim time buff, and seemingly the removal of aftershot dispersion penalties, but a very substantial reload nerf. So your 57mm Bofors will have a longer time to aim, and your tube launcher or your missiles will take longer times to reload. Leopard 1A3 is getting buffs to its reload time, accuracy, and rotation speeds, even to its concealment as well. Same with the Leopard 1A5, rotation speed buffs, reload buffs, accuracy buffs across the board. Martyr 1A1 is getting reload buffs to its missile launchers, as well as the same aim time to 1 second aftershot dispersion penalty from 3 to 0 for both of its launchers on both of its turrets. Moving on to German premium vehicles, you have the Martyr VTS-1, which is getting 20 more view range and a rotation speed buff to its chassis, as well as some shot dispersion penalties during movement. Super M48 is getting rotation speed and accuracy, reload, and shot dispersion penalty buffs. Leopard 2AV is getting increased composite armor effectiveness against ATGMs. Now, this is just a random line of text. I thought this was an overall change to composite armor that would be listed in the patch notes here, but instead it's just on every vehicle that they did it for. And I'm not sure exactly the changes made here. This is very vague, especially since you only know what parts are composite armor if you're a tank person. If you're a player like me who just likes the game, there is no way to know what is composite armor and what isn't right now in the armor viewer. So for right now, unless you know what composite armor on the tank IRL, you don't know what plates this is affecting, and you don't know how effective this is going to be. So I really wish this would have been a separate box of text, like every other Cold War update, that showed us exactly what they're talking about. But instead, it's just here on every specific vehicle that it affects. But moving on from this, it's also on the turret as well. So both the hull and turret composite armor are more effective against ATGMs, but it's also getting pretty substantial reload buffs, accuracy and aim time, and obviously shot dispersion penalties during movement. Moving on to the US of A, we have the T-34 heavy tank in Era 1 getting a view range buff to both of its turrets, as well as HP buffs to max out at 2000 now, a reload time buff on all of its guns, and shot dispersion penalties during movement, as well as rotation speeds for the turret and to the hull. The M24 Chaffee 53 is getting a lot of changes, but overall you can just see that it's getting concealment buffs, a camouflage bonus from 4 to 6%, advanced concealment bonus down from 25% to 10% though. Onto its turrets, it's getting view range buffs from 505 to 520 maxing out, and accuracy, aim time, reload time, aftershot dispersion penalties, and ammunition count buffs to the vehicle. And while the Chaffee is getting buffed in these departments, the M41A1 Walker Bulldog is actually getting nerfed. Its on the shot dispersion penalties are actually getting nerfed by 0.02. Its view range is getting rounded off to 500 meters view range on its stock turret, and its guns are being nerfed only on its stock turret. So this is interesting to see because turret 2 doesn't have any changes here. So even though this is nerfs to the vehicle, really the only nerf that you will actually experience is on its second tracks, where they give you less shot dispersion penalties during movement and rotation. Moving on to the M46A1 Patton, you're getting some accuracy, reload, and aim time buffs on both of its guns, and some mobility. Now with the M47 Patton, you're getting some similar treatment for all of its guns on all of its turrets. And onto the T92-58 in Era 2, it's actually getting HP from 2150 to 2250, 20 meters more view range, better reload time, and accuracy. This reload time seems to be only on its stock 76, so on its fully upgraded 76, it's just getting an accuracy buff, as well as a bunch of signal range buffs. Onto the M60-61, it's only getting signal range buffs. M60A2 is getting the same stuff, but also some accuracy and reload on both of its guns on its top turret, and a lot of rotation speed buffs. The M60A3 is getting accuracy and reload on all of its gun on all of its turrets as well, and the same signal range buffs, as well as some mobility and shot dispersion penalty buffs as well. M103A2, the Era 2 M103, is getting some rotation speed buffs, shot dispersion penalties, and reload and accuracy buffs on its stock 120, but on its upgraded 120 on its max turret, only accuracy. The M113, the bread box, is getting the same aftershot dispersion penalty drop from 3 to 0 that the missiles got on those Germans, and an accuracy buff to its top gun, as well as quite a bit of view range for a tank destroyer, going from 475 to 525. That is a substantial amount. Stingray, I forget this thing is in Era 2. You're getting signal range buffs, but also on its turret 1 and turret 2, you're getting rotation speed buffs, view range from 540 to 570. Reload time is getting buffed only on its stock 105. With its upgraded 105, you're only getting accuracy. Moving on to Era 3, the M1 Abrams has another increased composite armor effectiveness against HEGM's flavor text on both its hull and both of its turrets, and its 105mm gun version 2 is getting a reload buff, as well as 25 meters view range. For the M1A1 Abrams, you can expect the same thing with the composite armor changes on both of its hull and its turret. This, though, on turret 2 has quite a bit more to say. Reduced armor thickness of the composite armor, making it less effective against kinetic projectiles, but more effective against ATGMs and HE rounds. Interesting. I'm not sure how that works, and they don't explain it any further, but we should just take their word for it, right? It reduced the armor thickness of the composite armor, making it less effective against kinetic projectiles, i.e., your APDS, your APFSDS, your APFSDSU rounds, but more effective against ATGMs and HE rounds. So while all the other ones just say increased composite armor effectiveness, this one's still increasing armor composite effectiveness, but they're actually lowering the thickness. So this is on turret 2 of the M1A1 Abrams. So I suppose if you go and look at the turret right now before the update, and then look at the turret after the update, and you see what plate became thinner, then you know what plate is the composite armor on the turret 2 of the M1A1 Abrams. I'm guessing it's the outside turret piece. There's like 2 plates of the turrets, and I'm guessing the composite armor is the outside one, but I have no clue. Correct me where the composite armor is on the vehicle in the comments if you actually know that information. M1A2 Abrams getting the same composite armor changes and view range as well and rotation speeds. It doesn't say, though, the same thing that the M1A1 Abrams had, so no armor thickness nerfs here. M3A2 Bradley is getting some view range on its top turret as well as its stock, but on its top turret it's most important. On its 25mm Bushmaster gun, for its top one, it's just getting accuracy and aim time. It's getting reload on its stock one. For its missiles, it is getting aftershot dispersion penalty from 4 to 0, aim time from 2 to 1. So all missiles seemingly are going to 1 second aim time and 0 aftershot dispersion penalties, and they're even buffing its accuracy. M8 AGS is getting some mobility changes, and on its turret, it's getting 20 more meters view range on its top turret, and on its top gun, a 0.2 second reload buff, and more of these signal range changes. Stingray 2 getting similar stuff, with its top turret getting 20 more meters view range, and its top gun getting just a 0.2 reload buff. Some shot dispersion penalty during rotation as well, though. And of course, the movement up top. Moving on to premium vehicles, we have the Era 2 Bradley, the M3A1. It's getting 30 more meters view range, as well as better accuracy by quite a bit, and 2-second better reload time, and some good aim time as well. And of course, the aftershot dispersion penalty from 4 to 0. M50 Ontos is getting some hit points, but only by 10, rounding it off to 2200. Some rotation speed for its turret, and some accuracy, shot dispersion penalties, and of course, aftershot dispersion penalty going from 3 to 0. So not just the rockets or the missiles, but it seems like the recoilless rifles are also getting the 0 aftershot dispersion penalties that these ATGMs are getting. M60A1 Rise, I forgot this thing exists. Increased ERA armor effectiveness against ATGMs and HE rounds for both its hull and its turret and some signal range. So this ERA are the blocks of armor that you'll see on the vehicle. So these are way more easily identifiable. There's a lot of them too on like the T-72s. It's all those little blocks that look like little bricks on the vehicle. And so the ERA should be more effective against ATGMs and HE rounds now for the M60A1 Rise. Interesting. G.I. Joe Mobat is actually getting some changes, which is interesting to see because it's one of those licensed vehicles. But of course, it's not a nerf, so it's okay to do it, right? Accuracy is going from 0.35 to 0.32, and its reload time is getting a 0.3 second reload buff. The Cobra Cat is also getting changes from rotation speed to 40 on its turret and a 0.2 second reload buff for its gun. The Cobra Arctic Hiss is also here to make some changes, with its 90mm twin cannons getting a aftershot dispersion penalty buff, and 20 more meters view range. The Cobra Hiss, which is the one without missiles, is getting some camouflage changes, some rotation speed changes, the same 20 meters view range buff, the same aftershock dispersion penalty, but also better accuracy. Moving on to Era 3, we have the Thumper, changed tank class from Tank Destroyer to Heavy Tank. It is losing camouflage bonuses, of course, advanced concealment bonus from 30 to 10%. These values tell us something very important about the game as well. These, I believe, are the values you get for the camouflage net. And so it's interesting to see that tank destroyers in Cold War had a 30%. Heavy tanks get a 10%. So that's being changed to reflect its new classification. It's also getting vert stabs since it's no longer tank destroyer. And it also has the composite armor effectiveness change on its hull and its turret. As for its turret, it's getting 120 more HP, which is interesting. Better rotation speeds, better view range, and only better aim time. Nothing to its DPM. M60AX, also getting the composite armor effectiveness changes to both its hull and its turret. Rotation speeds, HP by 200 actually, which is quite substantial. Reload time is also being buffed by 0.2, and aftershock dispersion penalty from 3.5 to 2.5. The Teledyne Continental Motors AGS, or the TCM AGS, is getting a reload buff by 2 seconds and aim time buff as well. View range by quite a lot, with 35 more meters view range, maxing out at 600, and 250 more HP for this light tank. So that's quite interesting to see. We're now moving on to the French vehicles. The Batchat Char 25T, which is the free Era 1 vehicle, is actually getting a fair bit of nerfs. Its view range is actually going down on both of its turrets. And even though there's some buffs here to its stock 90mm, its top 90mm is actually getting a 4-second reload nerf. That's interesting to see. The AMX 30A is getting reload buffs on its stock turret, but on its top turret, it's just getting aim time buffs on both of its guns. The Lorraine is actually getting a reload nerf to its top gun. Its stock gun is a 90mm, so its top gun is actually getting a 3.1 second reload nerf. Moving on to Era 3, skipping over Era 2, we have the AMX 32. It's getting some HP on its top turret from 33 to 3500. It's getting 25 more meters view range, and on its top gun, it's getting 0.3 seconds reload. It's also getting some rotation speeds and whatnot up here. The AMX 40 is only getting reload time buffs on all of its guns for all of its turrets, as well as some rotation speed changes as well. Moving on to their premium vehicles already, we have the AMX 13 SS11 TCA, which is the Era 2 AMX 13 light tank with missiles. And so its launch rail is, of course, getting the aftershock dispersion penalties from 3.5 to 0, and its aim time from 2 to 1. As for its regular gun, it's getting a reload buff by 0.6, an accuracy buff by 0.04, and an aftershock dispersion penalty by 1, with an aim time buff as well by 0.3. Its view range is also going from 540 to 570 to hopefully make it a better light tank. Moving on to the AMX 30B 2 Farad, this is the last vehicle being changed here. It's getting 100 more HP, 4 more rotation speed, and some shot dispersion penalties changes. Updated physics is like on almost all of these vehicles, and we never know what that means either, just like the composite armor changes. What I was expecting to see is something like this, where they have a whole change listed here for the autocannons. And this, I believe, we've recently updated some vehicles to use the newly added server-side firing mechanics to support weapons with high rates of fire. If you missed this announcement, you could read more about it in our Autocannons and Rotary Autocannons game guide. Continuing this process, we have updated the following to use the new autocannon support, including some rocket firing tanks and flamethrower tanks, which have guns that also benefit from these improved mechanics. Tanks that mount rocket launchers and flamethrowers are indicated with a note. So, I believe these are some of the changes that they made that screwed over the Soldier on M67 and made it broken. And then they reverted that, and now I believe they're bringing it back in and putting it on almost every vehicle with autocannons. So you have your Alvis Stormer 30, Begliet Panzer, Desert Warrior, Scimitar, G.I. Joe Armadillo, and both Bradleys. You have the BMP2 and BMP3, as well as the Molot. and the Ignis Pregaccio Magak 6R Hydra, which is a rocket launching tank, and the Stritz for Dawn 904056. As for World War II, you have a lot of vehicles here, a lot of low tier ones that we can just skip right over. The important ones are things like the Tiefbreaker and things like the Churchill Oki, as well as the M26 Pershing T99, Soldier on M67, T34 Calliope, and anything else important in here does not look like it. The Senjutsu TO55 as well. So of all the flamethrower tanks and rocket launching tanks that have secondary rocket launchers, notice the Night Stalker's not in here, and that's fine. But the barrage mode rockets are the ones that got changes. So they have the, the big rocket holders rather than just the rockets coming out of the gun. So they got those changes. Hopefully, we don't see a repeat of what this Soldier on M67 became when we did this the first time. Moving on, we have some new camouflage options for World War II vehicles, with Czechoslovakia getting some cool ones. I like this 4-color camouflage. This is a summer one. I might put this one on my vehicles. As well as some Poland ones for NATO Desert Tan and NATO 3-color Woodland. And for the Cold War Independence, we have some Brazilian ones coming in for that, as well as some new emblems. And now here's the blank emblem icon. This actually is not the actual emblem, of course. This is just the icon for the emblem. There are some extra issues addressed here, and I just want to go over these for tanks. Added the letter D in the tank name for the Canonian Jagdpanzer 3 GST term. As for the next two, SDP WZ66 GROM updated the shell caliber to 162mm and gun effects to match. Does this mean it now overmatches at 162mm overmatches? In my review, I said that it overmatches as a 100mm, and it does. But they say updated the shell caliber to 162. Remember again, too, shell caliber is being updated to the ammunition panel, and it's different to the gun itself. This could mean that the GROM and future Polish tank destroyers will now use the caliber that is the highest on its dual caliber guns to overmatch. I will check this out in a custom game tomorrow and let you guys know in the pinned comment whether or not this is actually a change to the overmatch. Because this means it goes from only overmatching 32 to 33mm plates and less to up to 40, 50 even millimeter plates. So that is a substantial change if that actually does mean it changes the overmatch mechanic for the vehicle itself. Also, as well, for the season pass vehicle for Cold War that was for the current one, its fabric on the barrel moves correctly for the skin now. I did play some Cold War co-op with this vehicle, and I did notice that, so that's nice to see. But here are the rest of the map changes if you care to read them. And that is it for the patch notes for the Frostbite season. Again, the only complaint I really have about this, even though I don't play Cold War, seeing some nerfs and seeing buffs to certain vehicles was nice to see. The only thing I wish we would have gotten was a whole text box, like the autocannon update, or like the previous, shell mechanic changes for every Cold War update that's happened in the past. I would have liked to see a more detailed explanation of how this works, what this means, and how it's going to feel. What really, how are you going to notice the effect in any way? As a, not just as a player using these vehicles that have the updated armor effectiveness, but as a person shooting at these vehicles with missiles. How is it going to look, feel, be different in any way? That's the only gripe I have with this patch notes. Otherwise, it's pretty nice. And again, I'm glad I read everything in these now, after missing out on some information in a previous article. But this GROM update is a substantial one if affecting the way of the GROM the way I think it's saying here, because again, updated the shell caliber. So we'll just have to see about that on Tuesday, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.